Namaste. Welcome to the Ilongga Yogi podcast. My name is Kate. I'm from Iloilo City. I'm the founder of Healing Iloilo, where I teach daily yoga classes, and I'm the founder of Mental Health Iloilo, a community that supports mental health awareness in the city. I share content on yoga, mindfulness, fitness, mental health, self-care, and healing. Before we get into it, I would like to invite you to my classes at Molo Mansion. If you're interested in taking a class with me, just head over to Healing Iloilo's Facebook page to book a class. Hello everyone and welcome back. The last time I recorded an episode, I just gave an update on my Bell's palsy, and now it's already been several months. I came back from a big trip that I had. It was like the first big trip, month-long vacation that I had outside of the Philippines. And right before that trip, I kind of decided to finish my treatment. So ever since then, I haven't been back to rehab or to get acupuncture sessions. So just because, it is quite expensive, and what I've been doing since then is just kind of continuing my daily facial massages, because there's still a little bit left. Like, it's not 100% recovered. So there are still some facial movements and expressions that I can feel the left side of my face, or the affected side of my face, still it's like left behind a little bit, like it doesn't completely mirror the other side, or the movement is not at its full capacity. So I just have been continuing my facial exercises, but pretty much luckily and thankfully, my face is perfectly back to normal, or like that's how it's looks like, on the outside. But of course, what I feel with my face, it's still there's still a little bit left. But I trust that as I continue doing my facial exercises every day, hopefully until the end of the year, by the end of the year, I really hope that it's like completely 100%. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so I kind of just wanted to close that chapter of my Bell's palsy journey. So again, if you have that, or you know anyone who's been through Bell's palsy or is currently dealing with it, like for me, what pretty much worked was really being strict and committed to my rehab treatments and to my daily massages, and even trying acupuncture. And of course, it's not for everyone, because it did really it just hit my finances. And that's like a nervous laugh. No, it really did hit my finances, to be honest. So I'm still in the process of kind of taking care of that, recovering what was lost and everything. And still trying to balance everything else in terms of money matters. So that's kind of what it's been. But again, for me, it was my priority to really address my Bell's palsy. So that's why for me, even if I don't, my finances are not it's not abundant, but because that was my goal, I put everything to my Bell's palsy treatment. So that's why I spent all of that money and time for that, because I knew that if I don't address this right now, it's really going to delay and possibly never going to get back to normal. So that's my opinion. That's what works and what has worked for me, because it was the second time that I've had it. So I knew I need to be aggressive with the treatment so that I don't regret anything and it doesn't affect the rest of my life. So now, as we continue and move forward with life, as you can tell, this episode is all about who supports those who give support. For me, if you don't know yet, a lot of the things I do, basically, I hold space for a lot of different people and for different reasons, but mainly they're kind of somewhat aligned, So for one, I'm a yoga teacher, and I do that as a living. That's my livelihood. So I teach classes daily, and I've been doing so for over a decade, and that's just what has worked for me that makes me feel like that's my purpose, because it really does feel like I'm tapping into what I'm meant to do, So of course with that comes a lot of, you're giving so much of your energy, so there are a lot of moments where I do feel burnt out. I remember back then when I was still new to teaching, so I was still in Manila, and it was like one of my main sources of income. I would literally teach almost like 20 classes a week. There was a time when I would teach 20 classes a week, and sure, I would get paid more. And I remember back then, like, I had a really huge paycheck because besides like teaching that many classes, I also had like another job that allowed me to earn, basically like the same amount. And so like I had a bigger paycheck back then. But that's when that whole experience and that journey made me realize that no matter how much I earn, if I overwork myself, I burn out, and then it still affects my finances in the future, or it's basically like there's no point, like there's no value, it's pretty useless if I kept going at that rate. So for me, like through the years, I have learned to manage my energy and manage how many classes a week I teach, to avoid like burnout, because I've been through that so many times before, and it's not fun. It's not a fun place to be, because there were times when I would have to teach the next day, but obviously like days prior to that I was already feeling burnt out, and like I would have no choice but to get up and still teach this class, because of course I can't have anyone sub it last minute, So there were moments like that when I would feel very anxious about showing up to class, because I was so burnt out, and like my body was completely rejecting me teaching a class. Like it just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it physically and mentally, but I would have no choice because I would have to show up. And it was never like fun. Like I hated the feeling. It was really, really bad. And it would always end in me really depressed and at a very, very low point. And it would take so long for me to kind of recover from that after. So I've kind of learned that it's really not worth it to put myself through that and to like go through that again and again and again. Most especially when I started teaching at my own studio in Iloilo, I would have those moments like that because I was forcing myself to teach like in the morning and evenings, because I mean, there are a lot of teachers who can do that, and that's great if you can do that. You can teach twice a day or more. But for me, I'm the kind of yoga teacher that can only handle like one class a day. Like that's where I feel like when I do that, I can still teach from my heart. Like I can still teach with authenticity. Like I feel like it's very pure to myself and what my intention is and what my purpose is. But when I teach like more than that, especially if it's in the same venue, since I'm the only teacher at my studio, but for the most part, it just feels like I'm forcing myself to teach. And so I've learned through the years that for me, that's just not how I function. So, and it took me a while to kind of get there. Obviously, I've been teaching for a decade, and it's like been a decade since I've learned to really fully embrace that. And that's why like now my limit is really just teaching one class a day. And so recently, because I've taken on a new commitment, a really big commitment, and it's going to be very, very demanding for the next year, like literally from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep every single day. And take note, like when I sleep, I usually end the day like at 12 midnight or 1 a.m. 12 midnight being kind of my max for the most part. I'm bombarded with all these questions, concerns, meetings, like it's just one after another. And I've fully accepted that role and that commitment because before saying yes to that, I knew that this was going to be my life for the next year. So I already anticipated it. So I knew that there were many things that I would kind of have to say no to or let go of. And so like one of those things is I've had to adjust my days a little bit so that I can make space for this. Like, I've let go of one of my obligations. I've spoken to my family about it. They understand. So it's like, for now, I have to let that go because I don't think I can fit it in my schedule anymore. Like, it's impossible. I can't really go on any travels next year that are like more personal related, because I gotta make way for this, because there also will be travels involved. And like, when I look at my life and just like all of my obligations, I have my yoga studio. I also have a full-time job. So besides holding space as a yoga teacher, I also hold space for employees at a company, and I kind of give them support, a little bit of well-being support is what I like to call it. So sometimes I take time to talk to them. I organize like these wellness activities and wellness talks that just enhance, how they manage stress and manage different things. So I kind of take care of that too. So I'm holding space for them as well. So like, a big chunk of just like my life is dedicated to that. So imagine I have my yoga classes, that's daily. And I've known for years that, my limit is one class. Same with what I do, which what I call those support sessions that I offer at the company I work for. For me, I can also handle just like one a day. Because again, it's very draining if I do more than that. And again, the goal is that I'll be able to do this for as long as possible. But on top of that, like, I also have other things that I work on. There are other tasks that I work on. Sometimes I'm organizing events every single month for that company, and preparing talks, like creating content for talks, creating different content for them as well, just like for social media or for like our newsletters, all these things, reports. That's all part of the job. And so my life is really giving to these people, really giving myself to them. And then this commitment also does the same thing. I'm giving my life to them. And so I've had to let go of a few things, and I've had to like kind of come up with a strategy so that everything still works together, because somehow, everything that I do is still somewhat related. And so there is a way for me to merge them all together so that it's not too much on me. But recently, because I've taken on this big commitment, for some reason, like the past few months, I haven't heard a single invitation to like anything, like whether it's to a talk, which is, in the past, that's kind of what I would do. That's what I would make a living out of. Most of the time people invite me to do talks, whether it's like for their schools, for their offices, for their companies. Sometimes they ask me to lead sessions, right, for private yoga sessions. Sometimes they have regular private yoga sessions, and sometimes I have like those one-offs with companies, or like, for their wellness initiatives. So that would happen a lot in the past. And then like for some reason recently that didn't really happen as much. And then when I got back, all of a sudden all of these people are reaching out to me wanting to do this and to do that. And like, I think it just really triggered me in a way that I felt so guilty to say no. Like, I just felt so bad and so guilty to say no to these people, especially when they're like kind of like begging for help, like they need it. They're asking for support, they're just asking for my services, But it's so hard to explain to them, like, this is what I'm about to do. This is what I'm about to get myself into for the next year. And I really like have literally no space left. Like, literally, if you look at my daily schedule, there is no space left. The only time that I have that, like, if there are gaps between obligations or tasks or meetings, is literally, I just need that to rest. That was a lot of literally, but like, I guess I'm just trying to prove my point that I don't get much rest. So the rest that I do get, like, I need that. I really, really need that, because otherwise I might just like lose it. I might just break down. So I want to be able to take care of myself. So recently, somebody reached out to me asking for me to teach classes, and of course, like, if I didn't have this big commitment, I wouldn't even question it. I would just say, yes, let's do it. I can make time for that. I can make it happen. And I tried to explain to them, I'm so sorry. I've just committed to something for the next year, and it's really hectic. I don't think I can hold like a monthly class with you, or like do this in a when I say regular, I literally mean once a month. That to me is regular, because I already have classes. Like that's my limit. This is already me stretching myself, so I can't add an additional class to my weekly classes, because again, it's really a lot. It takes a lot from me to do that, and people don't understand that. Like, this is my boundary. Like, honestly, I can only teach one class a day. And so when I accept privates, I'm very, very particular that, like, they really do need this. Like, there's really no other option for them. That's just how I am as a teacher, because like other teachers, they love doing privates. They love doing that. But for me, my heart is in my studio. And so my priority is to keep that afloat, and my priority is that I can always show up and teach those classes. Because once I'm not able to, once I'm gone or I'm sick or whatever the reason is, it's very difficult to get those students to come back. And so when I accept certain classes or privates, that means like I understand that there's really a big need for it, or that like I understand that this is just a one-time thing. So I think I can do that. I can swallow that and like show up for that. But if, you ask me for something that's like regular, again, that's like already beyond what I'm capable of giving. And if I say yes to you, I'm going to be saying no to something else. So that whole experience, it really kind of triggered me. I felt really guilty, and I just felt so down afterwards. Like, I just looked at everything, and I guess you can say that it's also my people pleasing side. Honestly, I know that I'm a people pleaser, and that's another journey that I have to work on. But it made me feel really guilty that I had to say no. But at the same time, it made me so angry that this person can't like understand. Why can't you understand my side, my point? Like, this is my limit. This is all I can give. And if I were available, of course I would say yes, but like, I'm not, and if I give in to you, I'm going to resent you, and it's not going to be a healthy partnership in the long run. Like, I'm not going to be able to show up properly for you. I'm not going to be able to show up properly for the students. And so it's just no point in forcing it, especially when, the person that you're talking to, if they say they aren't able to commit, it's not coming from a selfish place at all. It's literally coming from a place where I want to be the best for you, and I want to give you the best of me. And if I say yes to this, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so it just felt really, it just felt so heavy to deal with that, because I don't like to say no to people. Like, as much as possible, I want to say yes, and like, maybe we could try this or try that. And it just felt, there was like a lot of weight, there was a lot of weight on me. And like, for a couple of days, I just felt so down. I just felt so sad. More not really sad, but just like really down. Like everything just felt heavy. And I knew that it was probably my response, like my body and my mind's response to saying no, like to having to set a boundary, like that's very necessary, but also going against my people pleasing habit. So I think that's where it all came from, like the reason. So I think that's why I came up with this episode, because actually I really was planning to talk about something else. Like, I wanted to talk about something yoga related, just kind of share tips on how to start a yoga practice, but my heart just wasn't in it. And then I just started thinking, and after this happened, like, it just made sense that this is something that I think I should talk about. Because when I got back from my travels, I was just drained. I was super duper drained, because I held back a lot of myself just so that I could maintain like the peace. Again, very people pleaser. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm just realizing that. But like I just wanted to have a good vacation, quote unquote. It wasn't really like a vacation for me. I just wanted to have like a peaceful, fun experience and just like get through it until the end, and just make it home, make it to the house alive and surviving and like thriving. That's kind of what I wanted to do. That was my goal. So I really like pulled back as much as I could so that I don't like create any conflict or chaos or anything. So I really like did my best, and I think because of that feeling where you're really holding back, especially I'm someone who doesn't really practice that. I've always believed in like just letting myself be, not really caring about what others might think, and just kind of expressing myself fully. So holding back a lot of a huge part of myself just so I can get through the whole trip, not really voicing out what I want, or, not really kind of giving way to other people rather than like doing what I would want to do. That really took a lot on me because I'm not used to that. And so when I got home, I was just like really, really drained. Like my battery was at like negative. That's how it really felt. And because I got back home and experienced all that, I also was gone for a month. So I had to like get back into everything like as soon as possible, because there were a lot of things that were kind of really urgent, like urgent in terms of like time wise, that needed to get to be done. So like I didn't have much of a choice there. So I wasn't really able to just like take everything in and slow down and pause. And like I think that also was a reason why I felt a bit more burnt out. It really wasn't working for me because there was just like zero energy left in me. And so I learned that because of that whole experience, I already was so drained, and then having to go through this feeling of guilt because of saying no to certain people because of my commitments and obligations, it just took a toll on me mentally. And for a moment, I was really down. Like I was really down. So I felt like this is not okay. Who will hold space for me? Because when I got back, I was just like in need of someone to just hear me and see me and value me and really, really nourish me and cherish me, because I was doing that for everyone else around me the entire time. And especially with the line of work I do, that's kind of what I do every single day. So I don't always get to have like someone else holding space for me and listening to me in a way that I do for other people. Like I don't always have that. So all of this combined made me think about this episode. That's why I called it this episode. So how do you go about this? What do you do about it? Because there are so many other people who are in the same position as me, who give so much of themselves to others, and nobody else is able to give them that in return. And so how do you go about that? Because I know that this is not going to be sustainable. And especially as I take on this big commitment for the next year, I'll need to learn how, so that I can kind of just go through all the ups and downs of craziness in a more graceful and grounded manner. So just a quick break, I want to share with you all that I am part of a nonprofit organization called Iloilo Ilang. We're an all-female chapter, and we conduct projects and trainings that align with the UN SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals. Our programs focus on advocacy such as the youth, education, elderly, PWDs, animal welfare, environment, mental health, gender equality, and just so many more. Actually, this coming weekend, November 23, we have a block screening of Wicked for Good. This will happen at Cinema 1, SM City, Iloilo at 4 p.m. So if you're interested and you want to support our causes, all the profits of the block screening will actually go to all of our community projects and also all of our admin stuff as well, just to help us stay afloat for the year to come. You can reach out to us on our social media pages. That's JCI Iloilo Ilang Ilang, both on Instagram and Facebook, or email us at iloiloilangilang@gmail.com. So here are a few tips or lessons that I've learned, and this is also what has worked for me. And I think especially recently, very recently, as I was coming up with this, what I wanted to talk about, these are also the things that I've come to realize really matter and are very important. So the first one is, of course, asking for help. But I want to be very specific about this, because I think if you're anything like me, then you're probably someone who always thinks like, I can do this alone. Like, I can handle this. That has happened so many times when, like, during a project, I just kind of take it all on by myself. And then when I'm there, I'm like overwhelmed with tasks, because like I think I underestimated the amount of tasks that need to be done, and like the amount of manpower that was probably needed. So it's like I just like have had this habit of just taking it all on by myself, because like I feel like I can handle it, I can do it, and not realizing that, I could actually like ask help. I could actually like pass this on to someone else too, so that it's not too much for me. And I don't have to do it all by myself all the time. And whatever that reason is, there's going to be lots of reasons, but I know for a fact that there are many women out there, probably you listening right now, who's also like that, who kind of practices that as well. And so I kind of have to remind myself that, remember, just like pass on the work, just like pass it on to someone, ask help, even though you feel like you can do it all, like just pass it on. There's no harm in doing it when you ask for help. So this is like my main reminder to myself, especially as I get into a very long-term commitment, or at least like for the next year, this 1-year term commitment. I have to remember to just ask for support, and you have to verbalize it. You have to say it, and don't be afraid to do that. Like, don't be afraid that you might be rejected, or like people might think that you're not capable enough. It's really more of just ask for support, because there's no harm in doing so, and you thank yourself after. So I really wanted to start with that, because I know that's a very common thing that we all experience, and it's something I always hear from other people as well, that they just like take on all the burden, and like people just don't mind, thinking that she can handle it. So it's important that we have to ask for it as well. Second is to not apologize for setting boundaries. I think this is like the main theme of my life right now for the past few months, especially after going on that vacation, because I was with family. I was away from my husband for about a month, and it's just like I just was able to reflect on everything and see everything from a different perspective. And I realized how the only thing that will get me through this life, to be very, very honest, is to set my boundaries and to know my boundaries, especially now that I'm in my 30s. I'm going to be in my mid-30s in a couple of years, and I'm married. We have our own space, we have our own home. I have my own career and all these things and my own obligations. It's super important that I have to set boundaries now. And I have to recognize that those boundaries are very important, and they should not be tampered with in a way, because things are different now. I'm no longer the young girl that I used to be, that highly depended on my family and highly depended on other people. things are different now. And so I have to embrace that and step into that, because it's a completely different, it's very different, period. It's just like very different. So it's important that I know what my boundaries are, and that I know that not just for like my classes or when I teach, like that's important too. Same with who I spend my time with, it's very important that I am particular about that I only spend my time with people who also are willing to respect me and my choices and my decisions and where I am in my life. If they aren't able to respect that, then I shouldn't be giving too much of myself to them. I think that's like the main thing that I've taken away, especially from this trip, that like if there are people in my life who are not willing to respect and acknowledge like my own choices in my life, then there really is no point of giving myself to them that much and really like dropping everything just for them. Like, and then for what, especially if they won't give me the respect and acknowledgement that I deserve, and so that's kind of where I am. That's like what I've really learned. And like I mentioned, when I got back from that trip, I was just really drained. Of course it was, I'm not dismissing the experience, because I was able to travel to Italy. I was able to travel to places that I've never been to and do things that I would have never been able to do. So that one it's like two separate things for me. Of course, that experience was memorable, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed it. Of course, it's a different style of traveling, which is different from what I would prefer, but it's fine. It's fine. Not many people get to experience what I experienced, and I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that. But looking at it as two separate matters, the other side of it is that it also made me realize a lot of things that, again, this time around, I need to set my boundaries. I need to stand up for myself in that sense, that this is only the amount of time that I can give you. This is like the only amount of presence that I can offer you, and this is the only amount of my energy that I can give to you, because other than that, that's just too much now, and that's okay. Like, I've realized that that's actually okay, and it's so much better that way. Because I can decide that for myself, and I need to decide that for myself. And when I look at other things, it's the same, when in terms of other boundaries. For example, when I wake up in the morning now, my boundary with myself is to make sure that I don't respond to any messages at the top of the morning. Like, my boundary is that I make sure that in the morning I have time to ground myself. So everything else will have to wait. That's just my personal boundary. Like, everything else will have to wait after I'm done with grounding myself and centering myself. Because if I let that get to me and it disrupts my morning routine, I'm gonna be a mess for the rest of the day. Trust me. Like, I will feel too stressed. I won't be able to think clearly. I won't be able to manage my energy, and I'll be ending the day super drained again, and it's going to be that cycle that repeats itself. So that also leads me on to my next lesson, which is to pause more often. And I think that this particular one is very timely for me today, because today, like, I was just rushing through everything. And I told myself, if I keep rushing at this rate, I will again drain out my battery, and I will again just be super exhausted and burned out by the end of this day. And then when I wake up tomorrow, it's just going to be the same thing again and again. So it's very important that when I look at my schedule and when I set my schedule, again, I have to know to set my boundaries. If there are things that need to be done, then ask for help. That way I'm able to pause. And so again, they're all like interconnected. And pausing is going to be very important for me, especially again for this year to come, because I've had to tell myself that before I respond to anything, especially when when I'm handed a big, huge issue, a big problem, a big challenge, I will only be able to face that properly and in the best way if I teach myself to pause for a moment, to pause, to process, to kind of slow down a little bit so that I am able to really see it from all sides. I can allow my body and my mind time to just like settle down a little bit, center myself, and then that's the time when I face it. Because if I like jump into a conversation or respond immediately without giving myself that time to pause, it really does affect the rest of my day. And again, it really does take a toll on my mental health and my physical health. It really does. I really feel it like in my body, how tired and also how stiff, how tense and tired I am at the end of the day because of that practice. So like today, because we don't have help at home at the moment, and it was another issue that I had to deal with, and another personal issue. So now we have to kind of switch things around and make sure to take care of the house on our own. And so on top of all our other obligations and responsibilities. So of course it's a lot to take on. So because of that, like I had to wake up. I slept like around past 1 a.m. last night because again, I had to do some work. I had to finish some work. So I ended up sleeping very late. And I woke up, it was already almost 8 a.m. and I had a 9:30 class. So again, I was rushing through my day because I needed to meditate. I needed to do my usual thing. I pray, I meditate, I do my facial massage for my Bell's palsy. I had to clean a little bit, clean up after the dogs, feed the dogs, make sure that I had something to eat, or else if I don't, I will end up with a migraine by the end of my class. So legit, I really need to eat something and have coffee before I teach, because I really end the class really starving and then sometimes with a migraine because I wasn't able to eat right away. So, I was rushing to my class, and then after my class, I had to pick up family friends from the airport. And before that, I had to pick up my mom from her house. So again, rushing from one place to another, rushing and rushing. And I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. So I have to remind myself to pause and to say no and to just ask people to support me if I need it. Because if I keep doing this again, I will always feel so empty and drained, and then I'll be needing support. Then I'll be needing help at a time like it's almost like I'll be begging for help, because it's too late. It's already been too late. In addition to all those 3 lessons that I already kind of understand and practice, here are 3 more that I just started to learn about. So I want to share that with you because I've started to like practice it a little bit in my own daily routine, and I feel like it has been working. So the first one is to practice receiving presents. So this time, again, like I mentioned, it's all about making an effort to reach out and to really make that time purposefully for others to hold space for you. So that never like really occurred to me, because the only time that would come to my mind would be if I schedule like actually like a counseling session, or I go to the church and talk to someone who's meant to do that. That's the kind of thing that comes to mind. But I forget, like, I'm very bad at reaching out to friends most of the time, because again, I shoulder everything and I feel like I can conquer the world all by myself without needing help, which is false. So I have to remind myself that I could actually reach out to friends, and if I reach out to them, make use of that space for them to hold space for me, because I'm the one always holding space for others, But of course, doing it in a way that I also give them the chance to be held, no, not just like, oh, it's going to be all about me, So there's sort of balance. But the difference is that when I reach out to a friend, it's pretty balanced. It's not like my classes or my sessions where it's already a given that I'm the only one who's going to hold space for this session. So you are meant to just completely be held and let go and surrender. And so I kind of carry the weight. But when you talk to a friend, it's like they give you that opportunity to also talk, to open up, to share, and to be held. And so I think that's something that I haven't been doing as much, and I need to get back to, where I have to make that effort so that I practice receiving presence instead of always being the one holding the space and like being there for others. Second is to stick to my transition rituals. So, this is something that I've worked on for years. Really, like for years I've worked on this. And it all started when I was really young. Every time I would travel to the US, every time I would travel to the States, at an early age, because when I would be in the States, I would just kind of be alone. I would be alone for most days because my mom is a single mom and she would always be working. And although there was also a time when my tita or my aunt would be there with us, but same thing, they would always be working. So I kind of had to learn how to make myself busy, how to keep myself productive, so that especially when there were days when I didn't know what to do with myself, those were the days where I would kind of just fall into depression at a young age without even realizing it. Like I didn't know that that's what it was all this time. Of course, as a young kid, I was adjusting to the time zone, and that really took a toll on me. Like I would get very stressed that I couldn't sleep at night, and it just stressed me out so much that I couldn't sleep at night. And then I didn't have anyone like helping me with that, because again, for them, probably it just wasn't a big issue or a big problem, but for me, it really was. Like it was really messing with my mind, and not being able to sleep properly already messes up with your mind. So that was already a given. So it really like took a toll on me. And then because I would always just be at home doing nothing, like I didn't have activities, when before that, when I was still in the Philippines, I would have like a jam-packed schedule, and then I lost all of that the moment I moved back to the US. So I really had to learn on my own that if I wanted to feel like I'm doing something right, like I have a purpose every day, like I'm just not, and that I don't fall into that dark hole of depression again, I need a routine in place. So even at a young age, I was already like creating a schedule for me, even if it was just like a schedule of what shows were going to come on at a specific time, and then like revolving the rest of my day around that. Like, this is what I'll do. I'll move a little bit. I'll dance a little bit. I'll take a bath at this hour, those things. That carried over to where I am now, wherein like everything I do every single day also has a routine. So like I mentioned earlier, in the morning, I usually have like a grounding time. That's my me time. And no matter what happens, no matter where I am, it's super duper important for me that I take time in the morning to meditate, to pray, and then I have to journal. I have to journal. And then I also have my facial massages just for my Bell's palsy. So those are like non-negotiables for me no matter where I am, because I know that if I miss a day, it really does impact my mental health throughout the day, or just like my disposition for the rest of the day. So it really does make a difference. Second is, I try, like after class, I've been practicing lighting a candle. So before the class starts, I would light a candle. And to me, that's like a symbol that when this candle is on, I'm holding space for other people. So this is like a sacred space now. And the moment I blow out that candle, it's more of like a symbol of letting go of the class and just letting go of that burden of holding space for everyone and kind of leaving it behind. And so that for me actually has felt really good. It's like a little sweet touch for myself. Like I do that for myself because I love candles, and I love just like the ritual of lighting a candle and then blowing it out. It's just like so special. And when I see a candle burning, it just feels so nice. It's just like a little hug to me, and I'm so obsessed. I love candles, and I love when they smell so good, and like when it's lit, so those are small things that I've been doing. after a class or after any meeting, I try to remind myself to either like take time to listen to music, just do something to decompress, to just set that aside now and let it go. So sometimes it's like breathing, a little bit of a meditation, just a quick one, or listening to music to just kind of get my mind off of it so that I don't just jump from one task to another. And I find that that has helped me a lot lately. And of course, ending my day almost the same way I started, making sure that by the end of the day, I also have like a little evening ritual just to help me end the day in peace and feeling calmer. So usually it's like a cup of tea, it's legs up the wall. Sometimes I meditate while I have my legs up the wall. It's taking time to just be in bed and enjoy a few minutes of that until I fall asleep. So having that ritual at the end of the day also just helps me give back to myself. And those are like my small transition rituals before I do anything. I try to make sure to do something in between just to help me feel grounded again and just like feel present again. Lastly, nourishment practice. This is something that's very important. So for example, I try to spend a day like after big projects or very hectic days, especially on weekends, where I just stay at home. Like it's important to me to just stay at home, to watch a series. Right now I'm binge watching Sherlock. I have always been a huge fan, like way back when it came out first. And then like I was part of that time where we literally waited for 2 to 3 years for another season. Sometimes I think it was almost like 4 years for another season. That was the time back then, and that's like unheard of now. I think at most like you'd wait for 2 years for something. So that's kind of what I do. I love to play games on my phone. And I also like to do small activities at home. Like what I do now or recently is like the sticker book, that you see on TikTok, where you can like create this. This is just like a very cute scene of like a library or a cafe with all these intricate details, and they're all stickers. And so that's, to me, it's just so fun to do that. It just makes me feel so so happy, especially when I see the finished product. So that's kind of what I do to nourish myself. And I think also like movement, really, especially now, like I've made it a priority that I have to move, because months ago, although I had a valid reason, I really like slowed down because of my Bell's palsy. Like I didn't want to do anything strenuous, so I really stopped going to the gym. But because I was also very busy, it also led to a more sedentary lifestyle. And I only had yoga, but I barely was consistent with that too. So now I recognize how important movement is. So I've been back to the gym. I've been going 3 times a week again, and then making sure that I also run again, because that's something that I'm personally, it's just a goal that I have, because I love doing high rocks now. So I just want to maintain a good run. And my hope is that one day I also get to experience a competition internationally for high rocks, because it just seems like such a fun thing to do. It's not like I want to compete for a specific time or whatever, but I just enjoy it. I love it. And running is an important component of that. So I've been working on that, like running twice a week, going to the gym thrice a week, and maintaining my yoga practice as well. These are all the things that no matter how tired I am, they have to be a priority, because they just help so much. They really make a difference in my energy, again, my disposition, my mental health. So all these practices, practice receiving presents, really making an effort to reach out, continuing my transition rituals. Those are very important practices. Making sure that I nourish myself, that I pause from time to time every day, just like pausing in between everything, setting my boundaries, and then learning to ask for help. I think these are all the ways that I can support myself. This is how we, those who give support, can also support ourselves through this journey. Just acknowledging that, my line of work, is very demanding energetically. It really is demanding energetically, and it drains me. And so it's very important that I learn to receive, because I always forget about the small ways I can receive support and love, and how that actually can make a difference too. And I want to just leave you guys with this quote. Support doesn't come from having more to give. Support comes from being well held yourself. Support comes from being well held yourself. You don't need to become less giving. You just need to become equally receiving. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ilongga Yogi podcast. I would love to hear from you too, so share your comments below or follow me online at Ilongga Yogi on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube. I wish you peace in the body, peace in the mind, and peace in the heart wherever you are. Have a great day ahead, and I'll talk to you again soon.